Welcome to IDLM Presents Honest Conversations on End of Life, where we open the door to compassionate, open dialogue about life's final journey. Together, we explore insights from professional caregivers, end of life doulas, and those directly touched by these experiences. Our goal is to demystify, inform, and support one another through stories, knowledge, and understanding that every conversation brings us closer to honoring life in all its stages. Today, we're talking to Alison Nail Malone, end of life doula, grief educator, and coach, also instructor for IDLM. Hi, welcome. Thank you for joining Honest Conversations. And today I have Alison Nail Malone joining us, who is also a graduate here at IDLM from our very first year. We're now approaching 4 years here in 2025. And I'm super excited to have you joining us, Alison, because, over these years, since you have finished working through our course and coming and joining us and being a part of our community here, you have done amazing work in your own community. And then we have a little surprise announcement we're going to talk about a little bit later. But Alison, welcome and thank you for being here. And if you would share a little bit about your journey into becoming an end of life doula and what that specific moments or experiences that confirmed is that this was your work for you and what inspired you to take this path.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anna, for letting me be here and inviting me to be a part of this conversation. And, my journey with IDLM has been life-changing. It's been values changing for me as well. And I'm just so incredibly grateful to be a part of this community and all the different ways that I've been able to either serve or show up or be educated by. And so thank you for letting me be here too. So.
Oh, we're happy to have you to bring all the amazing expertise that you bring here to IDLM as well.
Yeah, so my journey to becoming an end of life doula was a little crazy, honestly. My background, I've been in human resources for over 20 years, and I held multiple roles, pretty much almost every seat that you could sit in HR, except for the C-suite, although I was kind of a right-hand person to a C-suite person as an HR practitioner, and I worked with recruiting firms and small businesses and in Fortune 1 companies, and I did that for over 20 years. And it was at a point where I was actually living in New York City and I was getting my master's degree in sports psychology because I really thought that I was going to go into supporting athletes, as I really loved that idea of performance coaching. And I already had just gotten my coaching certification and had started doing executive coaching as well. I was living in New York City, and my dad, who had just recently moved to Northwest Arkansas, had a very significant medical event. And because of that, I moved from New York City to Northwest Arkansas, where I live today. And so for many years, I was his person. Like I was his caregiver from the time where he was independent to becoming a dependent. I helped make medical decisions and educated him on that, finding community resources. I even had to learn how to navigate the Veteran Affairs medical community, which was really difficult. And it's really difficult here in Arkansas as well, because it is one of the lowest ranked
Oh,
VAs
wow.
here, although they are getting better. They have been getting better. And so I didn't know that this is what other people did. I mean, I knew people took care of their parents, but um, I just didn't know. I thought I was just kind of alone in this because people aren't talking about it and weren't talking about it. And in the course of my time, I also got married, got an amazing bonus kid on top of that. So now I have a family that I'm caring for, and I'm caring for my father. And right before COVID hit, he had three significant medical events. Now, not only was he dealing with physical, but he also had mental illness as well. And so there was this whole like intersectionality after intersectionality for him. And then in July of 2020, he died, and he died alone. And it was a really difficult process to navigate him being in and out of the hospital to ultimately becoming getting admitted into hospice. And my experience with hospice was incredible because my dad was a very cantankerous, hard patient. I like to joke one day he got so upset with one of the CNAs who wouldn't give him vanilla ice cream in that moment, he got so mad he stripped off all his clothes and started wandering around, which even the nursing staff was like, how did he even have energy to do that? But the way that they treated my dad
Mhm.
was so kind, so gentle, treated him like a human being, where every other pathway we had been, they didn't treat him that way. They treated him like a problem. And the way that they were so compassionate with me as his caregiver and like giving me education and just being super, they listened to me. When my dad died, it was really difficult because it was the height of COVID, running a business, taking care of my family. There were some other things that were happening in our life where it was just so overwhelmed. And Anna, I had to tell you, I don't know how, and I use the term universe for kind of like my higher power, but I was at a point like I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be in HR anymore. But I don't know what I want to do. And I don't know how, other than the universe delivered it to my email box over and over. And I think maybe even on social media, IDLM, end of life doula. I'm like, what is I don't know what that is. I don't know what this is. And why does this keep coming to my email? I have no clue.
Wow.
Still to this day, have no clue. So I just feel like it was divine intervention of like how I even got there. And so I actually did a lot of due diligence of, researching other doula programs, and those were good. But what I found significantly different, even at the very beginning, was the care and concern for the audience, care and concern for the people that you were, getting ready to educate, how equitable it is and accessible that it was. And I think those two were so important to me, making sure that one, this was going to be a very diverse and equitable community, but that it was also accessible to anyone who wanted to go down this path. So that's kind of how I even got here. And it's just been an incredible journey since then.
And it's funny because a lot of times I have meet with people, and it always surprises me too. And I'm like, yeah, we plant seeds out there in any business, right? We plant those seeds, and it's amazing that we'll still have people who said, oh, I started following you in the first year, and you know what, now I'm ready. Now I'm ready to go forth. And it's kind of like they've been able to see our journey throughout these years, and being able to, I've heard people too, a few others have said, I don't know how you ended up on my feed. I don't know how it just happened. And they're like, but I'm so excited that we found you all. And that's the thing here at IDLM. We really try to, we have it set up so in such a certain way that nobody, even though in the past we've had other schools try to replicate what we do, but they still can't do it. And
Correct.
there's a secret sauce that will keep top secret, but there's a secret sauce to it. And when you're here in IDLM, you get to see and hear what that is. I love the fact that we get to build such great relationships with everybody. Um, especially seeing, when we have events and getting to see our graduates from the first year. And, I'm like even amazed with myself, because as we keep getting busier, I wonder about my mind sometimes. I'm like, how am I going to remember all this? And some people will tell me, I'm surprised you remember me. And I'm like, yes, I do. I can always remember, I'm pretty good with faces, names sometimes, and then sometimes it's more of the name, and then I'll recognize the face. But but we do, just last night I had someone call that came from another referral from a graduate, and she said, that graduate told her that, oh, they'll call you, and you can call them, and you'll get on the phone with them. And she said, when she got on the phone with me, because we were texting back and forth, I said, just call me. And so it was like, yeah, just call me. And she's like, wow, you are a person that we can talk to. And it's about having that connection, and to making sure not only having the connection, but we have a big thing here too. Alison, you probably will vouch for me there, is that we always try to get back to anybody that contacts us. Sometimes it's minutes, sometimes it's a few hours, but it's usually no less than 24 hours. We're back in touch with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's that bond. And I think that's where we start off that good relationship, just like doula work.
Mm-hmm.
you know
Mm-hmm.
so it's amazing, and we're just excited that you're here with us too. So, Allison, for those who may not be familiar, and I know, we this podcast we talk about all kinds of end of life topics, but I really, for maybe someone who's new watching this episode of our podcast today, would you share for those who may not be familiar with, how would you describe a role of an end of life doula?
One of the ways that I describe it, especially like when I'm doing community events and people are like, what is this? Or are you that? And so a lot of times they'll say, are you hospice? And I was like, well, we work in partnership with it. But the way that I describe our role is that we're the glue in between everything for the care of the individual. So that's every part of their care community that includes friends, families, community resources, medical team, hospice team. We're the glue in between all of that and really help advocate for the individual and the individual's like community of love. So sometimes that's family, sometimes that's friends, sometimes that's their church community or their spiritual community, whatever that community is, whatever their community of
Yes.
love is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of the glue in between all of that. And it also creates kind of like, I tell people jokingly, I'm also your personal assistant to your death.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people, some people are like turned off by that, but most people kind of laugh at that and it makes sense to them because yes, we're part of like caring for the individual, but we also coordinate things. I mean, I was an event planner for one, like I helped plan the funeral, the celebration of life, the follow-up, and I ended up emceeing because the individual who was going to MC those events got there and was like, I can't do it. And the other siblings were like, I can't do it. Allison, help us. And I was like, oh,
Oh my
okay, I'll
God.
just step in. So I emceed a
Wow.
whole funeral and celebration of life.
Sometimes
So
our working with our clients bring out new skills that we never knew we had.
yeah, yeah. So, a lot of my clients, we educate and we connect to resources that are going to help the individual and or their community of love. We you know, we create community even within those that serve the communities that we serve. So, we have a group here in Northwest Arkansas of folks that their services or products are for individuals who are in, the ages of 65 and over. We're also developing a community here that'll help serve the LGBTQIA community as well, making sure that they have like their advanced directives cared for, that they know what their rights are as a patient, things like that. So not only are we serving individual and their community of care, but we're serving the community to be better stewards of our life and our death.
I think that with our doula work, and this kind of brings out to those unique qualities and skills, and something that people need to think about when considering this path is you are many different roles. You're the educator for your community. You're the educator for your loved ones that you're working with, whether it's the caregiver or the patient themselves. And you do get to wear different many hats, but I think all at the end, it's all rewarding.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's what's interesting about end of life doulas is that it doesn't look the same for every person. Like we all have different specialties, we all have different interests, we have different ways of delivering what we want to and what we don't want to. And there's very few roles in our world where we get the opportunity to direct it exactly the way we want to.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Do you feel that your work that you've been doing, has that changed your perspective on life and death?
Oh, 100%. 100%. Like, it already started with the death of my dad because it was such a lonely path. And when I started I tend to be the person that talks about the things that are uncomfortable for folks. I don't know why, which I've always been that way. And when I started talking about my caregiving journey, about the death and the grieving journey, people are like, oh yeah, me too. Oh, there's other people that think that way. Oh, there's other people who are experiencing that. And so, on top of that, I think one, it has this role and doing this work has increased my self-care. Like I have to increase my self-care, which some people might find selfish, but it's the only way that I can do this work and be sustainable and still show up in my life. And so there's that. I think the other thing too is that I've been so much more intentional about my relationships. I've been so much more intentional and reflective, I guess, about how I want to show up in my life and also how I want to show up in my death. You know, for me, I also share with folks, and this is just my belief, so I'm putting that out there. This is my belief. Like, I had a very tumultuous relationship with my dad. And now that he has passed on, we have a very different kind of relationship now. And because of that, it has also made me so much more patient with other folks. Some of my clients have been people with dementia, and the way that I've worked with dementia clients that have dementia, it's also shifted the way that I connect with people who don't have dementia. And it makes me see people in a very, I think I've always been very empathetic and I've always loved serving people because of the roles that I've had in my past. But there's something really deep and authentic and meaningful in how I live the life now and how my relationships are, and even how I serve my clients. I feel like that muscle gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And it shows up in like my kind of reputation of the work that I do that like precedes me. Like I have people who I run into in the community that I have no idea who they are. Like, oh, you're Allison, you're the death doula. You know, and I'm like, how, you know, how do you know that? So
Mhm.
it's made me care about community even more so.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it really does change and change the way we look, the way we and over time, I think because we get into different situations with clients and seeing
Mhm.
different perspectives of life, I really honestly I always say it's weird because when I'm working with a client, I always learn something. It
Yeah.
always changes my life in some way and makes me think of things differently.
Yeah, that's really interesting that you brought that up because each client I've had to do some kind of new research, learn something new. So one client I found that there's only one person in the state of Arkansas that does autopsies in our whole state. And then we have like I started researching personal planners, you know, for the individual whose spouse is dying, and the individual has never dealt with bills, the bank, uh, finances, and so I'm helping the family figure out like how can this individual find support to help pay the just pay the bills, which that's something that was, I mean, I knew that was kind of out there, but also Arkansas is limited in some of these things. And so getting really creative in types of services that we can connect our clients to.
Yeah. Yeah. And it happens quite often, partners and yeah, that's amazing. Well, Allison, I guess it's time. It's time to share. So Allison has now become an instructor here at IDLM and is going to be leading out there in Northwestern Arkansas and teaching live classes, in person live classes. And so I don't know. What do you think? I mean, I'm just excited.
I am really excited about this. You know, as I've been doing community events and I do like community workshops at our local libraries, I have folks who are like, wow, I didn't even know that this was a profession that I could potentially get paid with. And I've had multiple folks go, wow, even though I might not want to do this professionally, I could see this really benefiting my family because I'm the one that my family comes to solve the problems, to figure out the funeral arrangements, you know, things like that. And I'm finding that folks are way more interested than I really anticipated when I started talking about it. And so the other is very selfish because I'm the only one in this part of, particularly this part of Arkansas, that serves as a death doula. There is one more here, but she works for hospice as an RN there. So she does doula work, right? But I'm the only death doula, paid death doula in this area, and there's only two others in the state of Arkansas south of me. And
Wow.
I have more folks reaching out to me, and I can't take all of them. And I hate turning people down. And so I want to create a community selfishly for myself as support, selfishly because we have a population here that really needs us. And I want to serve as many people who need it to have enough people here to serve them.
I love it that we, are together and working this, because I think our beliefs are just so entwined together, and our passion of getting this out there. And you're right. I find myself in that same situation. Even though I have graduates here in my local state, I still find myself in situations where I'm like, oh my gosh, I need more help. Like there's just not enough, and that's something that I think is amazing with doula work, is that you never have to worry about running out of business. It's never going to run out. It's
Exactly.
never going to go away. And the complexity that of support, and not only that, for the clients that need support, there's that, but also the doulas. So as
Mhm.
we start growing in Arkansas, there'll be a community of doulas that can come together, one, continue that education. Alison, share with the audience here how you think that doing the in-person training is going to be so impactful, and what they can expect from coming to a live in-person class.
Yeah, this is really cool because I think it has a dual benefit. So one is when an individual signs up for these in-person classes, not only do they get the in-person experience, which I'll explain in just a moment, but they also are going to have the virtual experience with the community that's already been created. So there's community resources, education that will always be available to you once you start your program through IDLM. So you'll have this rich community of folks all across the globe, in fact.
Mhm.
All, there's education, there's continuing education that you have so generously, given doulas as they continue their profession. The in-person experience, the one of the reasons why, we've been looking at creating these opportunities in person is one, we need that in-person community. It is a little bit harder when it's 100% virtual and we're in the same state, we're in the same city to connect because we're busy folks, life happens. And so this gives an opportunity to create bond and kinship in person. So like creating our own community there. Also, it gives you an opportunity as a participant, as a student to gain knowledge one-on-one with me because these groups are not going to, it's not going to be a huge class.
Right.
It's going to be a tight-knit cohort, and then that cohort will get to help mentor future cohorts as well.
Mhm.
So these communities are going to be tight-knit. It's going to be fully supportive. I'm going to be here right here with you. And so, again, our virtual community is incredibly amazing and I have loved it. And then also, like, you and I will get to meet for coffee when stuff comes up. You'll be able to call me when stuff comes up, and you'll be able to have somebody who understands our community because it's unique here. It's very unique compared to other places in the country. And that's true for other communities as well.
Absolutely.
So we have
Absolutely.
nuances here that, I understand. I've been here for over 14, 15, oh gosh, 16 years. And so I understand the growth of this, our audience here, the way this community thinks and breathes. And so that's something really unique. Wherever you attend an in-person IDLM course, really feel like that's what, part of the advantage of having both of the virtual and that in-person experience.
Yeah, I think it's really, really important to have that both offering. And then, and there's sometimes when someone in a state can't do the in person, so they have that online. So we have multiple options. There's
Yeah.
multiple options to fit everybody's need who is called to this journey. So we're super, super excited to get that started. And you'll be able to, our listeners can go to our website and click courses, and you'll see now we have a tab for in-person training, and you can click that and see our locations there. Alison, I have one more question before we close out for today. If someone is considering becoming an end-of-life doula, what advice would you give them? And thinking about your journey and what what led you to taking and going down this path as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a couple of things. I know a lot of people who become interested in this work is because they've gone through an experience, an end of life experience of some sort. And so, one, I would say, part of IDLM does provide you an opportunity of healing on your journey, but to make sure that you're doing your healing too through that, because it's a lot, it's heavy work sometimes. Well, most of the time it's heavy work, and you've got to be on your healing journey in order to be able to be a part of other people's healing journey, and so that it doesn't drain you. I think the other thing is to be really clear about your why. It's interesting because last night we had the birthday bash, our first night of birthday bash, and Barbara Carnes was on there. And this was something that she talked about too. So I would highly recommend, getting in contact with us to find out what that conversation was like, because she talked about like getting really clear about why you want to do this. Um, because the work calls a certain level of heart and a certain level of intuition and empathy, and really getting clear about why you want to do this work. And then also, I think the last thing is, take your time with it. Be very intentional with it, because when you're clear about your why, when you're clear about your intention, the universe always delivers. And it is delivered IDLM, it's delivered clients in a way where I got really specific about the kind of clients that I wanted to work with. And that's what gets delivered to me almost every single time. And, this is really a journey of empowerment, of love, and of support. And so, when you walk into this, be ready for the life changing, mindset changing, heart changing career in life.
Yeah. And I want to also just kind of put a reminder for everybody too, because this is the question I get all the time. Do you have to be in the medical field? No. As Alison shared, she has an HR background and she has done a beautiful job serving her clients and her community. And so you don't. And if you do, that's great too, because then, that's the great thing about the community, right? Of having everybody. So if there's something that we're not good at, we can go to somebody else in our doula, little community here and be like, hey, oh, I remember so-and-so does this. Let me go and ask them. So you just end up really helping. And like Alison said too, I always said this as well. The universe brings the type of clients that you need to be working with. I
Yes.
just really agree with that. It just happens every time that, with what I've had experience in and what I do, those are the type of clients I get. So don't be scared. And, we always open our door here at IDLM. If you ever need to chat about what this could look like for you, reach out to us. Just send us an email and reach out to us, because we are always happy to sit down and have those conversations to, like I always say, we always give the good, the bad, the ugly. We don't paint any just kind of pretty pictures. We're just going to give you the straight truth, and I think that's something that I really push forward and try to instill for everybody to do, because it was something that I didn't have when I started my journey. So
Amazing.
awesome. Well, Alison, thank you so much for joining in with me today and sharing your story. And I'm so excited that you are there in Arkansas and going to be getting this live course out there. I'm just super, super excited. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me here. And I'm excited to continue to see how IDLM impacts our world.
Thank you so much, because we're raising the bar, especially this year. So it's going. Thank you.
Thank you.